Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Was I the only one that always thought it was hubble bubble, not double double? It appears I was wrong. Introduction. Hi, I'm Carrie from the Junk Journal and Brambles Society. This is my first YouTube video, so please bear with me. In this video, I explore using brambles, also known as blackberries, to dye paper. I want to see if I can get a similar effect to the coffee dye paper that we use in junk journaling. I'm going to go through what you need, and then I will show you how I process the brambles and prepare the dye or stain. Apparently it's a stain rather than a dye. I can't say I really understand the difference, but there is a chance that it will fade or discolour over time, which is perfect for me. I will show you the dyeing process and the results after that. You may also get a sneak peek of the journal that I'm going to be putting the paper into. Part 1. What you need preparing the dye and dyeing the paper. There were a couple of amendments to this list, but I wanted to get these clips filmed outside ASAP. There was a rumour that the British summer weather was coming to an end. The rumours were true. Insert clip from that afternoon. The first thing you'll need are some brambles. Later on I'll tell you where I get mine from. So the recipe that I sort of put together and used ended up being 1 cup of blackberries to 3 cups of water, and this produced 400 millilitres of stain. The second thing that you will need is a pan. It needs to be big enough to hold the 1 cup of brambles and the 3 cups of water. I wouldn't have one too small because it is going to bubble a little bit and you want that room to let it sort of boil up without it going everywhere. The third thing you will need is a jug of water. Obviously you'll need one slightly larger than this one, but I thought it was cute. I used it before I realised that I was going to need at least 3 cups of water to add to the brambles. You will need a spoon of some sorts. I always like using a wooden spoon just because it's a sensory thing. I like using a wooden spoon. I don't know whether you can see from here, but a little friend decided to join us on this photo shoot. I'll zoom on it now. The next thing you'll need is a sieve. I actually, in the end, used some muslin on top of the sieve. I'll explain this later. You will need something to stain your paper in. I use this white casserole dish. It's just about big enough to fit in an A4 sheet of paper. You will need some paper to dye. I used some normal cheap A4 printer paper, and I also dyed some A5 envelopes, which I'd not done before. The last couple of things that you'll need are a lemon squeezer, and some bicarbonate. Unfortunately, I didn't have any bicarbonate in, so I ended up using some baking powder, which did cause some issues. I didn't realise when I did my first batch that this baking powder actually contains, as well as bicarbonate, it contains corn flour. And this left quite a nasty residue on the paper, and it didn't feel nice and it didn't look particularly nice. So I ended up using the muslin on my second batch to strain the stain, and this did seem to work, and it got out a lot of the corn flour gunge before I actually went on to use the stain on the paper. So first of all, you're going to take your cup of berries and then just add them to your pan on the stove. It's really important to give your brambles, blackberries a really good wash. Remember that these could have dirt, and they also have like little flecks on them that you want to get as much off as you can, so that eventually when the stain comes out the other end, it's a nice and clean stain and it hasn't got lots of little bits in it. You want to add your water. I added my water just cold straight from the tap, so that's 3 cups of water that you add to the berries, and then you can then switch it on and just leave it to come up to a boil. Because I'm quite impatient, as the berries and the water was coming up to a boil, I took my wooden spoon and started to sort of squash the berries on the side of the pan, and this just sort of helps them break down. It's quite satisfying doing this while you're waiting for the water to boil. So this is the pan when it's got up to the boiling point. As you can see, it's all lovely and bubbly. So when it's got up to the boiling point, what you want to do is turn the heat down. It usually takes about 6 to 10 minutes for it to start boiling. Once it's got up to that point, turn the heat down, and you want to sort of let it simmer and just sit on the stove for probably another 20 minutes. It's quite easy to tell when the stain is ready because you get this gorgeous smell coming out from the brambles in the pan. And another way is, if you see here, I'm sort of picking out the berries, you can see that some of the berries have sort of lost the colour and are going quite pale. So this kind of tells you that the stain's ready. You can then turn the stove off. Something I didn't mention in the what you need section are a couple of jugs or bowls that you can strain the brambles into. As I wanted to try both the lemon and the bicarbonate recipe, I needed 2, but if you just want to use the original juice just as it is, then you'll just need the one. As you can see here, I'm just straining the brambles and the juice over the sieve and the muslin into a jug. Once you've left the mixture just to strain for a couple of minutes, then you can sort of start pushing the mixture through the sieve to make sure you've got all the juice out. You should be left with this lovely dark stain to use on your paper. So something I didn't explain at the start of the video is that the reason why you need the lemon and the bicarbonate. So I googled using brambles to stain things, and it mentioned briefly that you could add lemon juice to the mix and this would vary the colour, and then it said you could also then add bicarbonate and this again would vary the colour. It didn't actually say how it would, but to me it seemed like a cool experiment, so I decided to give it a try. I decided to split my mixture into 2 parts, so in one part I could try the lemon and in the other part I could try the bicarbonate. Now in my trial run I struggled with the bicarbonate mixture because of the residue, so the second time round I decided that I would do 2/3 lemon and 1/3 with the bicarbonate. As a rough estimate, I used about 1.5 teaspoons of lemon in the lemon mixture, and in the bicarbonate I used about 1/2 teaspoon of bicarbonate, and this seemed to be enough to get a result. As you can see in the last couple of clips, I added the lemon to one part of the mixture and in the other I added the bicarbonate. It does seem to froth up, which is fine. Once I had left the bicarbonate mixture for a little bit, I did go and re-strain it, and as you can see here, this is like the cornflour bits that you really want to get rid of. I actually wasn't ready to dye the paper on that day, so what I did, once the mixtures had cooled, I put them in some jars, put them in the fridge, and then the next day I used them for dyeing, and they seemed to keep fine. I don't know whether you can tell, but the tablecloth that I'm using in this clip is actually like a thin plastic. it's one that I can put out, I can give it a clean, and then I just reuse it every time I'm dyeing paper. So the first jar that I'm using is the lemon mixture. There was a little bit of gunk at the bottom of the jar again. I didn't put this in. It's quite a bit redder than the other mixture. So I think what's happening when you're adding the lemon and the bicarbonate is you're changing the acid content. So when you're adding the lemon, you're making it more acid, and then when you're adding the bicarbonate, you're making it more of a neutral mixture, which is, I don't know how, but magically it changed the colour. Quite like using this casserole dish to dye my paper because I sort of push it along to the edge and pull it up along the edge, and it covers, most of the page gets covered, and then I just let it drip off, the excess off, and then I lay it down. I just lay it down flat on the tablecloth and let it dry. Then I put the envelope in. I've never dyed an envelope before, and part of me was like, I don't know whether I've seen anybody else do it, but I'm sure they have. I was thinking that it would stick together because of the sugar content in the mixture, but actually, if you just leave it to dry, it opens absolutely fine. There's no issues. It wasn't stuck together at all. This mixture is the mixture with the bicarbonate in. To me, it looks a lot more blue when you pour it out. Again, the residue at the bottom of the jar. I didn't put this in because I didn't want it going on the paper, so I just left that out. Then you do exactly the same, and you just dip your paper in. Get it completely saturated. I didn't find there was any problems with my hands getting stained when I was doing this. I'm not really a glove person, I just like to get my hands in. Again, you just lift it out, let it drip the excess off. Lay it down. On the envelope. I did spread these out once I'd finished filming. If you don't want to lay the paper on top of each other because it could stick, because again I think there's quite a lot of sugar in the bramble stain, so it could stick. A quick intermission. I love getting out with my dog, particularly on wood walks in some of the gorgeous parks near to where I live. He loves all the smells and squirrels. I love observing nature and how it changes through the seasons. It helps ground and calms me. You can of course buy blackberries, brambles from supermarkets, but while they are in season, I like to forage for mine and use them for all sorts. At this time of the year, the woods near us are bursting with brambles. My dog has been very patient while I curtail his walks to pick them. I'm sure he'll be glad when the season ends. In the video you will see the jars of this season's bramble jam that we made recently. My dad has just taught me how to make it. We are fortunate enough to have a gorgeous old jam pan that has come down from my mum's family. The witch in me loved being stood over a boiling pan pretending to mix up spells and concoctions. I couldn't resist adding some branding and twee lids to the jars of jam that we made. They're not for sale, they're just for show. We've produced about 15 jars altogether, using 4.5 pounds of brambles, and these will keep us in jam for our breakfast toast for a good few months to come. Double, double toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble. Was I the only one that always thought it was hubble bubble, not double double? It appears I was wrong. This year everything has come early in England. We had a drought early on from about April, but with the dry and hot weather, the brambles were in, we were picking them in July. We've had a pumpkin that's been ripe in August. We've had grapes that have turned colour and were ready to pick in August. One of the pumpkins that was ripe was used on the table at the start of the video. Part 2, the results and the journal. These are the results of the dyeing process. I've got 4 different things to show you. So first of all, there's the envelopes that we dyed. This one I put some extra stain on it and extra bramble at the end because we had the leftovers. So this has given a really beautiful effect with the purple. This was the lemon one. This was the first thing, one of the first things we stained, and it's come out quite pale compared to the rest. So I just feel like that maybe I should have put some more of the stain on this one, but still it's still a pretty. It's gone quite yellow. I'm not sure why. So yes, so the lemon ones. These are the lemon ones. In all, I managed to stain about 30 A4 pages, as well as the 2 A5 envelopes. I did more of the lemon stain, so this has come out really quite blue purpley, what I'm calling blue purpley. Some of the pages, see there's a purpley one, a lot more blue, and if you compare that with this, which was the bicarbonate, this is a lot more pinker, you can see there. So this is the bicarbonate, and this was definitely, as you can see from my lovely poster, I made about 10 of these pages, and this has definitely come out pinker, what I call pinker, than the lemon. I wanted to show you this. This is the first batch that I did, and yeah, there was a lot of sort of like residue and gunk, and that I mean I don't mind a little bit, but this was just it just doesn't feel nice, and you can see there. So yeah, I definitely recommend giving the berries a really good wash, and I'm using muslin as well as the strainer definitely help get rid of some of that out. So you're just left with a cleaner look. And then at the same time I was dyeing some avocado paper. It was only like quite a weak avocado dye because I'd been in the fridge for a little bit in a jar, and because I didn't clean off the tablecloth in between, there was still some sort of bramble stain left, and I think that it's definitely a slightly more purple than than it normally goes, but I quite like the combination of the two. I'm trying to show you. There's a bit there of the bramble. This is like some swatches that I did. They come out, I did this straight away after I'd with the stain, so it's quite a light stain, but you can, I don't know whether you can pick it up, but as I was saying, I thought the bicarbonate came out more pinker and the lemon more blue, and that was the original. But yeah, it was a really good fun little experiment, and the things that you were using are stuff that's, you know, you have about the house, so I'm really pleased with the results. So this is the journal that I've put some of the pages in. On the front cover we've got the lovely Edith Holden brambles. I really love this. And I've used some autumn leaves because obviously we're turning into autumn. I'm trying to get into the autumn mood. Look at that cutie. And I made I custom made the colour of this wax seal. Yeah. And so I've got a signature here and a signature here. So there's two signatures. I think I put 15 pages in each. These were some images that I found in the gorgeous Ladybird, the vintage Ladybird books, and they're both featuring some brambles. These are the bramble that I painted and designed. I don't think I'm going to write in this one, it's just going to be more like an art piece, something to keep the gorgeous images of brambles that I find along the way. So in this first signature I used the bramble paper from the first batch that I did. You can see here quite yellow. That's an avocado dyed paper. So these are the pages of the first batch. I have got a tear on that one, and that was torn in the process, but when I come to use it I'll tie it into the design. I'll put some tape or cover it up or something. I'm not worried about that. Oh, there's one other page that I've done. It's a Coraline page. I do love these little bits of splattering things. You can just splatter the page after when they're drying to get this more like intense. So yeah, so that's the first batch. Like here, there's a lot more example of the residue. Right, I'll quickly just show you this other. So this is the second batch I did. And this is the one I used I did it inside the drying, the staining and the drying inside, so it's a lot more controlled on a dining table with a plastic tablecloth. And yeah, these are some of the like effect that you get. A bit of residue on there, but you can hardly see it, and it doesn't feel yucky, it feels nice. So look at that, I love that. A lot more cleaner than the first. Yes, I'm really pleased with this. I love the variations in the colour that you get. Very tie-dye effect. Oh, look at that. So I think that's all I've got to say for the on the bramble dyed paper. As I said before, I really enjoyed it. A really cool little project, and I probably am going to do some more paper dyeing with some different things. My mum suggested onion skin. Apparently that gives a really good effect, so I might try that sooner rather than later. I hope you enjoy this video. Just bear with me with these first few videos. They're probably going to be not too slick, but I'm learning as I go, and I'm enjoying that process as well. So hopefully you'll come along and see some more of hopefully my cosy and calming videos. For now, take care, and hopefully I'll see you soon.